Somebody give me any old linear equation, please, in slope-intercept form. Question of the day. What's the difference between slope-intercept form and standard form? Anybody?
Slope-intercept is solved for y.
And standard form is?
Not solved.
It has x and y on one side and a number on the other. So give me one equation, any equation, Kylie, that's in slope-intercept form.
Y equals 2x plus 6.
2x plus 6. Now, let's just for fun, because that's all what math is fun, just for fun. If I'm going to graph that line, Jacob Bowman, the first thing I'm going to do is do what? Thank you. Jacob Bowman says, well, you take this, which is called the y-intercept, and you put a spot here at positive 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Correct them anew. And then the second thing I do after that, Alex Wyrick, is
Put a 1 under 2.
sure, make this a fraction because it is called the slope. So then what do? How do I graph this?
Down to.
Okay, down to, do I go over one this way or this way? Right side, left side? Right side, so my line goes downhill?
Oh, yeah.
Uphill. It's positive slope, so it needs to go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. So you get this line here. Perfect. Today, children and kids of all ages, we talk about linear equations, but we talk about parallel lines, and we talk about perpendicular lines. One of these is a little bit more logical than the other, okay? If I were going to draw a parallel line to this one here, what does parallel mean? Back in the day of parallelism stuff, it's
like 2 lines like run beside each other, but not.
exactly. So this line would be, I could put dots here, this would be here, let's see, this would go about here, this would go about here. Here's my parallel line. What observation about that line with relation to the line I started with could you make? Differences, similarities, smells, sights. Lizzie?
Similarities is still going to be 2x.
Exactly, and that is the very biggest key you need to put down here. Parallel lines have the same slope. But they'll have different y-intercepts. Okay. Parallel lines will never touch. They're going to have the same slope. They just cross the y-axis. And matter of fact, you could tell me the equation of this line. What is the equation of the red line? You should be able to tell me what the equation of the red line is. What is the red line equation? It's like an equation of the red line. Yes, Jacob Bowman?
Equals 2x.
Yep. It is just y equals 2x plus 4. Same slope, crosses at the different y-intercept there. Okay. If I did a parallel line and put it right here, I did a parallel line, put it right here. You could tell me what that equation is. What would that equation be? Again, parallel lines have the same slope, so that equation is going to be, help me out here, smiling. I'll start you out here. Y equals, Alyssa, what's the same slope as the other lines had? Thank you very much. And where does this new line cross the y-axis? At 0. So it's just y equals 2x. Okay, every parallel line to that will have the same slope. Now, children, what about perpendicular lines? Let me draw a perpendicular line for you. What color would you like that to be? Yes,
Purple.
Fuchsia.
pink because it's Justin Bieber's birthday. Gwen, I could have made it yours too, I suppose. It's your birthday. You and Justin were born on the same day.
And Kesha.
Who's this?
She's a horrible person.
They were just born.
She's a bad influence.
She's
on
stupid.
others.
5 years apart.
Okay, I'm gonna do as best I can with this here, children. Okay, let's say I'm starting with this blue line. Actually, this line will be perpendicular to all of them. I'm going to go like this. So we've got a perpendicular line here. Now, we are going to look at how perpendicular lines, well, don't look at where they intersect there, because I could have drawn this perpendicular line here. What do you notice about the slope of perpendicular lines? What do you notice about it? Boo, Kylie Haug. First of all, well, actually I have to say it like this. The slopes of perpendicular lines are going to be opposite. Okay? Because if the first line happened to be negative, the other one would be positive. Okay? So the first thing you know is their slopes are opposite. Okay? But if you look at this line right here, maybe I didn't draw it quite right. I don't think I did. I'm just going to tell you what their slopes are. The slopes are opposite reciprocal slopes. Because mine, I didn't draw it to the right scale there. Okay? Opposite reciprocal slopes. Now the y-intercept doesn't have to be the same. In this case I drew it there, but it wouldn't be the same for this one here. So if I started off with y equals 2x plus 6, what is the opposite reciprocal of 2? Negative what?
1/2.
Negative 1/2. Because this started out being 2 over 1. Reciprocal means a fraction flipped over. So it's negative 1/2 x. Now in this case it did cross the y-axis at positive 6. So that would be the equation of this line right here. Okay. But the only thing you have to remember, parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slope. Because they go the opposite direction and they form right angles. Let's see what the book actually tells us with this here. Oh, here, here's one, write this down. Y equals negative 4/3 x. Yeah. Y equals negative 4/3 x plus 5. And this 4x plus 3y equals 6. 4x plus 3y equals 6. And the question the book asks you is, are they parallel? I don't know what this is. Are these two lines parallel? To which you're going to answer, Stephanie?
I have to graph them.
You do not have to graph them. The only thing you have to do is compare their slopes. To which you would say,
They're not in the same form.
they're not in the same form. To which you're going to say, I have to.
Variation.
Yeah, you want to always make, this one's in slope-intercept form, that's the way we do it, so we have to make this in slope-intercept form. How do you make something in slope-intercept form, Mary Schubert?
Huh?
How do you make this equation in slope-intercept form?
To get the y on the other side, so you can.
Get the y by itself.
Oh yeah.
So then the first thing you have to do is
Then
subtract 4x.
both sides.
Correct, so now I have 3y equals negative 4x plus 6, and then to get the y by itself, now I have to, how,
Right up here.
divide by 3. Divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. So I end up with a y equals negative 4/3 x plus 2. Are these two lines parallel?
Yes.
Yes, as long as they have the same slope, they are parallel. What would be the slope of a line if it were perpendicular to this? Instead of -4/3, it would be the Jake Vickery. What's the opposite reciprocal of -4/3? No, opposite of negative is positive. Positive 3/4. Positive. Are you positive? I am positive. Alright, one from the book here. This one comes right out of practice C here. Practice C says, if you have line number 1, this is a fun one here. Line number 1 goes through -2, 2, and I'm going to get rid of this pink because I can't take it no more. 2, -4. Line number 2 goes through 3, 6, and 5, 3. And the question is, are they perpendicular? Are they perps? Guess what you're going to have to do?
Find the slope.
How do you find the slope of lines when you're given 2 points?
Y2, so
No, we're not graphing. We graph as little as possible there. You need to use the formula, the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Find the slope of both of them and then compare them. In order for them to be perpendicular, they have to be negative opposite, whatever. So let's do line number 1 equals y2 is -4 minus, oh, I was always going to do these parentheses. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we end up with here -6 on top over 2 plus 2 is 4. So line number 1 has a -3/2 slope. What does line 2 have to be in order for them to be perpendicular? Opposite reciprocal, 2/3. If line number 2 comes up to be 2/3, you know they are perpendicular. So line number 2 is y minus y over x minus x. 3 minus 6 over 5 minus 3. 3 minus 6 is a -3. 5 minus 3 is a +2. I get -3/2 for this one. Are they perpendicular?
no.
In fact, they are parallel. No, not perpendicular. They have the same exact slope. What's that? Speak now, Mary. Speak
Did
now.
you say they weren't?
They're not perpendicular.
Yeah, they're parallel.
They're parallel because they have the same slope. Perpendicular have negative opposite